Hello, I'm Harvey Harkeen, and this is Harking Back, a podcast about the pop culture of a lifetime. Whose life? Mine. I'm going back through every year of being alive and finding out what was going on in that year. This week we are looking at 1992. I was 10 years old. Double digits. What did I do for my double-digit birthday? Can't remember. Cannot remember. Something boyish, I assume. Probably went to a movie. I honestly can't remember. I can remember other birthdays, but not my 10th, and you'd think you'd remember your 10th. Because you're very excited when you're a kid. Like my daughter's about to turn 7 and she's just, oh my God, I'm going to be 7. And I feel like, oh, wait till you're about to hit 10. Then you're like, double digits, baby. And you're probably going to be double digits. Not a lot, make it to triple. But you're going to enjoy double digits. Anyway, it was 92. The main thing I think about when I think about 92 is in Christchurch, New Zealand, where I grew up, around this time, there was a major... Sorry, I said around this time. Sorry, I mean around July, kind of August time. There was a major snowstorm, huge snowstorm in Christchurch, and it was one of those like... Do you remember that episode of The Simpsons where they just go to bed and Bart prays for snow so he can spend more time studying, and they wake up and it's just snow everywhere, like in the movies? It was like that in New Zealand. We woke up and just everything was white. I'd never seen anything like it. Like it was just like a Hallmark movie covered snow everywhere. They cancelled school. I think it was the first time I'd ever seen school cancelled because of snow. I couldn't believe it. I think we were checking the radio, as you did back then. They all huddled around the radio trying to see if your school was included on the list of schools closed. And I think they just went, yep, every school in Christchurch closed. I think. This is my memory. And we just went, yes! And Dad was like, we were pleading with Dad, don't go to work, don't go to work. And he was like, no, I've got to go to work. And we're like, what, are you kidding? And he couldn't open the garage door. Like, that's how much snow there was. And he was like, well, I guess I'm not going to work. I think this is my memory. And we made like a snowman and we had snowball fights. We just played in the snow. It was amazing. And of course it wreaked havoc on like the local, the farmers and everything. You know, a lot of bad things about the snow that we were just not prepared for. But since then, that has been my weather event that I can talk about like an old man. You know, like the big snow of 92. You know, like some people can talk about, like, oh, the drought of 76 or the summer of 69 if you're Bryan Adams. This was my one, so I could say, like, the big snow of 92. And what I've loved doing is, I think I first did it maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. I saw a report on, like, Facebook or something of a big snowstorm that was going to hit Canterbury or / Christchurch, where I was from. And I just wrote, this is nothing compared to the big snow of 92. And I loved saying that. I loved being old enough to be like, yeah, I remember big snow. You call this big snow? And they're saying shit. And since then, I don't know why, but any time I've seen any report of any snow whatsoever coming from Christchurch or Canterbury, I just write, this is nothing compared to the big snow of 92. And because I keep writing it, what happens is the algorithm, especially these days, goes, oh, he loves snow stories from Christchurch, New Zealand. So they keep popping up on my feed, and every time all I write is, this is nothing compared to the big snow of 92. And it either gets either completely ignored or a lot of likes or people going, well, actually, it's very good. And I'd never reply. That's all I do. I just come in, I say my line, and then I leave. So anytime you see a snow story from Christchurch, you know I'm going to be on it. Talking about nothing compared to the big snow of 92. Like I said, with this podcast, I'm going to be just talking about the kind of pop culture things, the lighthearted stuff. Because if you, like, when I Googled 92, there was a lot of shit that happened in 92 that was really bleak, really depressing. So just again, a reminder, I'm trying to just talk about the pop culture stuff, of the years. We're not going to be getting into, I don't even want to mention the shit that was going on there. Hey, you've got Google, go check it out. And don't say I didn't warn you. Things that happened in 92. Tiger Woods makes his PGA debut. Oh man, I used to have a joke that I could do about Nike and how it sponsored Tiger Woods, Lance Armstrong, and Oscar Pistorius, and I just can't do it anymore because those names just aren't in the public eye anymore. Maybe I might if one of them comes up in the papers again, maybe I can do it and record it. I've got it somewhere. Maybe I should chuck it on the Discord. Anyway, Tiger Woods makes his PGA debut in 92. 92 is the first year where CDs outsell cassettes. Right? And I think I've talked about this before. Like, there was a lovely time. There wasn't, like, CDs were a great time. CDs were a great time. They were a great time. It was a great time for music having CDs because especially when you want to go buy CDs, because you go try them in the CD stores, in the music stores. They always had like the featured CDs, and because if you wanted to hear what kind of tracks they were, you could just skip a few tracks. You know, they always had like the I don't know if you guys had this in your music stores, but they'd have the featured CD, the headphones that you'd put on. These days they wouldn't let you do that because of the hygiene reasons, but you had those big padded headphones, chuck them on, and then they had like a green button that started the CD at track 1, and then a black button to skip ahead of track, and then the red button to stop it. And if you had to kill time, you'd pretty much just go and listen to a CD, all of it. And would give you a great taste of what a CD was going to be like if you wanted to buy the thing or not. And remember, you get the CD, you like flip out the cover. When you bought the CD, you'd get the cover, and if it was a good one, it would have the lyrics inside. Because you couldn't Google lyrics. You couldn't just go on the internet and go, what are the words to this song? Because the internet was just in its infancy, and it was just sleeping and shitting its pants, right? But good CDs would have the lyrics inside, and you'd go back, and you'd listen to the whole album. Not like streaming these days where you just listen to one song. You'd listen to the whole album, start to finish, and it was a real experience. So this is the first year where CDs outsell cassettes. Nice one. I found out that there was this is the first year a couple married in space in 92. They divorced in 98. This is when Charles and Diana separated. Having lived in the UK now for 14 years, I can only imagine. Like, I don't remember. I was 10. I didn't care about the royal family. I didn't know who Charles and Diana really were. Maybe I did. But the point is, what I'm saying is, right now, looking at any time Wills and Kate do anything, it is a media absolute shitstorm. For Diana and Charles to separate, I can only imagine what it would have been like in the UK when this would have hit like a meteorite. This was the meteorite that wiped out the royal family's credibility for a bit. Holy shit, future King of England gets divorced. Are you shitting me? Would have been huge. 92 is also when that very famous book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, came out. And it was the book that was going, hey, look, men and women think about things differently. And everyone was going, oh my God, this is such a revelation. It seems ridiculous these days. Actually, these days, I don't even know if they'd make a book like this because like it would be non-inclusive. Is that what it'd be? Anyway, what I'm saying is back in the day, this thing was revolutionary, and they talked about it on talk shows, and they'd have the person come on and they'd be like, yeah, because, like women are more emotional, and men are more, they just kind of try to think about things and fixing things, whereas women will try to like listen and like empathize with you, and everyone was like, oh, what? Oh my God, I never thought about it like this. It was crazy. And we've all celebrated what we were, and we could finally understand ourselves a little bit better. Did it help our relationships? Probably not. Also in 92, Sinead O'Connor went as a guest on Saturday Night Live and blasted the Catholic Church. Good on you, Sinead O'Connor. I always just thought you were that one song, but now I realize that you did this. Good on you. 92 is the year that the Toronto Blue Jays win the World Series against the Atlanta Braves. I hate that they call it the World Series of baseball. It's like that sprinter who just won that video that went viral. World champions of what? Talking about basketball. Americans love just going, we're the world champions. Who else is competing, mate? Like, I'm not saying that you wouldn't win. It's baseball. You made it. But also, let's see, is there an actual world competition of baseball? Surely. Like Japan's really good at baseball. Lots of countries are really good at baseball. Anyway, the reason I remember this is because I love this, because my dad was really into baseball, and what he would do is he would record the games overnight, and we would watch them together the next day. And he taught me all about baseball, and he'd commentate and tell me everything. And it was just a nice time spending that time with him. Like at the start, I didn't really give a shit about baseball, but over time, I actually really liked baseball. And any time now I'm in the US, and you walk past like an airport lounge or a hotel lounge or a sports bar, and they've got baseball playing on the TV, I find it really super relaxing just to sit there and watch some baseball. Like cricket can do one. I've never found cricket very exciting at all, but baseball I find very calming, and I like it. And I think it's because those World Series I'd watch with Dad. I remember at the time the Atlanta Braves, they would have this chant where everyone would kind of like chop their hands back and forth, like it was called the tomahawk, and everyone would like go oh, like it was this American Indian chant. And I don't know if they do that anymore because that would be seen as problematic. But at the time, it was like, this is how we support our team. And I don't think anyone was doing it in a racist way. Again, just looking at things retrospectively, I don't think everyone went, hey, let's all be racist at the baseball game. But turns out maybe they were. I don't know. I don't know how these things work. Or that's just my memory of it. What else happened in 92? Crystal Pepsi launches. Did you ever try it? I never tried it. It looks like sparkling water. I don't know what it tasted like. Did it taste like Pepsi? I don't know. But I know that Coke launched a similar clear soda called Tab Clear to make it look like it was some sort of medicinal drink, and they were hoping that people would confuse Crystal Pepsi with this, and they would get the idea that Crystal Pepsi was like an ulterior, like non-refreshing, like non-leisure drink, like it was more medicinal or something, and apparently it worked, because Crystal Pepsi was discontinued in 93. It's gone. It's gone. Like, sometimes they do re-releases, sometimes they do like a little quick, like, it's back for 2 months. I'd try it. I'd give it a go. But seriously, Coke and Pepsi. I remember I did a little video for Pepsi for card throwing stuff, and someone went through my Twitters. They went through my tweets and my social medias, and they made me delete anything where I'd mentioned Coke, or as they called it at Pepsi, the C word. 92, Carlos Herrera, the inventor of the margarita, dies. Salty. Margarita, I've always found, like, I love a margarita. Who doesn't love a margarita? You know, you can have it in slushy form or on the rocks, which is like, you know, or really pure margarita, really strictly speaking margarita. That shit is strong. My wife and I have had a couple of fights after having margaritas, and after we've had the fight, like one night we went out for dinner and we had some margaritas, and then went to dinner and we had this argument, and we went to bed angry at each other. And we woke up the next morning, and we both just woke up and just went, last night was ridiculous. Like, we both just came out of the spell of the margarita and just went immediately, like, no, I was wrong. I'm sorry. We both just looked at each other and just went, that was ridiculous. I think it was the margaritas. And since then, we have respected the margarita. Because I think we looked back and we're like, oh, another argument we had. Yeah, we've been having margaritas. Is it tequila on its own? Let me know if you have this. Is it tequila on its own that makes you, like, aggressive? Or is it the margarita? Is it mixing tequila with lime and salt? Is that what does it? Maybe. Anyway, God, I love a margarita. I could go for one right now. It's before lunchtime. Chicken Tonight launches. Do you remember that? I feel like chicken tonight, like chicken tonight. And everyone's, like, flapping their arms like they're chickens. I hate that ad. I hate that it's so catchy. I hate the action they've got everyone doing. I hate everything about the ad. These days, I really try to not use any jar sauce at all. I just realized, hey, most sauces I was buying were tomato-based, so I just chop up tomatoes now and just reduce them down now. But that fucking ad, oh, it sticks in your head. I looked at an ad, like an old ad of it on YouTube, and it made me angry. Like, if the point of the ad was to, like, make you think about Chicken Tonight, mission succeeded, mission accomplished. But if it was to make me hate Chicken Tonight, you've backfired there. Right? Or did you backfire? No, you know what I'm trying to say. 92, Dan Quayle. This is the famous potato, spelling potato wrong. Oh my God, I feel really sorry for this guy, because potatoes, like, when you hear that Dan Quayle spelled potato wrong, all it does is it makes you double guess yourself and doubt yourself. And when you go, I know how to spell potato. Do I know how to spell potato? All it does is it just makes you doubt yourself. Like, there was a famous thing about the human psychology, and it was like, hey, you can do this right now. You can do this right now. Hey, do this. Touch your nose, right? Touch your nose. Okay, good. Now take your finger away. Now try and touch your nose. Try. And it's just the very idea of trying that just kind of fucks you up a little bit. Yeah. So Dan Quayle misspelling potato. Oh, it was such a simple mistake. We've all done it. We've all misspelt a word that you know how to spell. You know what it is? It's a room full of people. It's an audience. Like, you know how you can type on a keyboard, no problem, and you can, like, whip out an email in record time. As soon as someone is watching you type something on the computer, that's when your fingers just... Ugh, that's when you just start making all these mistakes. And that's what would have happened with Dan Quayle, surely. Right? In a room full of people, cameras, he was like, I'm going to help this kid. And, oh, dear. 92, the Marlboro Man dies of lung cancer. Spoiler alert. Just, I don't know why that made me think of this, but yeah, clearly the guy that smokes every day is going to die of lung cancer. There was a supplement that was being advertised on TV when I was around this age. I think it was called like Kaolic, and it was just like garlicky. It was like, you know, one of these things like, we've infused the power of garlic into this pill, and it's amazing for you. And at the end of the ad, the guy selling it, he looks into the camera in a really dopey way, and he says in a really kind of weird, I still remember how he said it, he just looks at the camera and goes, I use Kaolic every day. And he looked like he was drugged, like there was something wrong. And I was like, well, I'm not going to use this thing if you're using it every day. Also, 92, Barcelona Olympics. This was when you had... Did you ever hear about the Dream Team at the Olympics? This is where the American Dream Team, the USA basketball team that consisted of like Jordan and Pippen and Patrick Ewing and like all the superstars of that time just demolished the competition at the Olympics. I thought the Olympics was supposed to be like an amateur thing. Like, why are you getting NBA professionals against like fucking Montenegro? Oh, this is also when I remembered, I think Serbia and Montenegro were in the Olympics as like one country. And I remember going, hey, hold on, they're two countries. You can't have two countries pairing up to be one. And then I read, like later on in life, I found out about Yugoslavia and Montenegro and Serbia. And I realized, oh yeah, fine, fuck it. Montenegro is tiny and Serbia needs it. So go for it. I ended up doing a joke about that when I went to Croatia. And it went well. But yeah, this is the year that the American Dream Team crushed. Absolutely crushed. I remember it was very much that, like, stop. They're already dead. Like, they're out there like the Harlem Globe... Say that again, probably. They were out there like the Harlem Globetrotters, but in real life. Like, you know, the US... These juggernauts up against, like, these Italian part-timers. It was just... Oh, you know how you always talk about, like, I wish there was like a regular guy in the Olympics that you could just kind of see as a benchmark? Every other basketball team looked like a regular guy against these guys. It was unfair. I don't know if they changed the rules after that. Anyway, TV was great for 92. Batman, the animated series, came out, which was a great series for kids because it took itself super seriously. Around 92, we just had a lot of, you know, comedy, gaggy kind of cartoons, as they're supposed to be. Batman, the animated series came out and just someone said, I'm going to make the best Batman that is G-rated. And they did. The animation was clean and clear and crisp. Like, the Batmobile looked sleek as hell. It was amazing. Let me know if anyone else has this. I've got this idea in my head because I saw it in Batman animated series where you cannot read in your dreams. Is that true? Again, I'm not going to Google it live right now because this isn't that kind of podcast. I just want you to tell me. Is it true, A, that you can... do you know this, that if it's true that you cannot read in your dreams, and that's because in Batman the Animated Series, someone put him in a dream and gave him his perfect life, and then he realized he was dreaming because he couldn't read. And when he comes to, he's like, how did you find out? I created the perfect dream for you. And he was like, yeah, I couldn't read because reading comes from one side of your brain and dreams come from the other side of your brain. And that's why you cannot read in dreams. So I always had this weird abstract fact of that. And then I think it was debunked somewhere. But I can't remember reading in any dream. Let me know if that's true or not. What else? 92, The Real World debuts, which is the first reality show. They started filming some young people in an apartment, all trying to fuck each other. And nothing's changed since then. Cartoon Network launches in 92. I mean, what a time to be a kid. Here's an entire channel dedicated to cartoons. Enjoy yourselves. And also on one of those, the first time I saw it was X-Men the Animated Series, which came out in 92. I think it debuted on Fox, not Cartoon Network, but the first time I saw it, I think, was on Cartoon Network. X-Men the Animated Series made me a superhero nerd. I watched it. I think I watched the first episode. And I was absolutely hooked. I was like, who are these guys? What is going on here? Why is this amazing? Why can I not stop thinking about them? Why is Cyclops the best? And yes, he is the best. Him and Gambit, I love them. I know they're polar opposites. I think Cyclops, they did him wrong. They sorted him out in X-Men 97. Like, this is what I couldn't get. Like, in the first 2 episodes of X-Men 97, like, they have to fight all these Sentinels. Wolverine doesn't take down a single Sentinel in the first episode. Cyclops takes down like 7, and everyone was like, "Oh, Cyclops, you screwed us." And like, Cyclops you're all alive because of Cyclops. Anyway, if you know, you know. There's been podcasts, there's been video essays on this series. It is what made... I think if X-Men the Animated Series had not been a huge success, you wouldn't have got movies like Spider-Man and Daredevil and Blade. Like, studios wouldn't have taken a chance on those sorts of movies, which means that you wouldn't have the MCU these days. X-Men the animated series. I mean, like, yes, go back and watch it. Some of the animation's a little bit shoddy, but the tone of it, again, it took itself seriously. It was an ongoing story in a time where every cartoon would reset like a sitcom back to the status quo. You know, like at the end of each episode, you had to be back to the beginning. X-Men was like an ongoing saga. The story just kept evolving and progressing. It was amazing. It was amazing. All right, let's look at the top 5 video games, or the video games first that came out in 92. Screw it. Let's start with the top 5. Thank you to fandom.com for these. Top 5 home console video games in 92. Number 5, Zelda, Link to the Past. That's Super Nintendo, I think. I never played it, but it looked amazing. And number 4, Super Mario Kart. Super Mario Kart number 1. I was there. Number 1. I played it on my cousin's Super Nintendo. We raced each other. What are they up to now? Super Mario Kart 10 or whatever? I don't know. I was there, much like when GTA came out. GTA 1, I was there. Super Mario Kart was super fun, and I'm glad that series has kept on going, and kids love it today. At number 3, Final Fantasy V. Not nearly the Final Fantasy you thought it was going to be. At number 2, Dragon Quest V. It's actually full title Dragon Quest V Tinku no Hanayame. I'm sure it's an American game. And this is the first time we've got a joint number 1. At joint number 1, it's Sonic 2 and Street Fighter 2. I mean, if you're 10 years old in 92, these two games would sort you out for a week. Easy. One of my biggest gripes was I never completed Sonic 2. Like I keep telling you, I wasn't allowed to have a console, but I was allowed to hire one out. And when we hired out a Mega Drive, I got Sonic 2, and I just could not complete it. And then we had to give it back, and I was like, no! So I think years down the line, like 20 years later, when I finally was able to get my hands on an emulator, the first thing I did was go back and complete Sonic 2 to tick that off my list. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Those are the top 5 video games that came out in 92. Other games that came out in 92 that I remember, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis came out in 92. This was like a point-and-click adventure. We got this, and I was so excited to play it. I think we borrowed it off a friend. I was so excited to play it, and I couldn't get past this, like, essentially the first level. Like, there was a problem with a snake in a tree, and I think I tried everything. I couldn't work out what to click, what to bring. I don't know. It just made me feel so stupid, because I was like, I know this is the first level, and it should be easy, and I couldn't get past it. And that still sticks with me. Yes, and I still feel stupid because of it. Wolfenstein 3D came out. Like, I think it was the very first-person shooter I ever played, for sure. My dad brought back some games to install on our computer. We'd moved on past the CGA graphics. We were into VGA. There were 256 colors, I think. And Wolfenstein 3D was one of them. And he said, do you want to play it? And I was like, yes, I'd love to play it. I don't think he quite knew what it was, because I started playing it, and you know Wolfenstein 3D, it's a first-person shooter. You go around shooting Nazis and or stabbing them, or dogs come out and you have to kill the Nazi dogs. And like, it was, and I started playing it, and my dad was watching it, and after about like maybe the 6th person I'd killed, and when they die, they kind of go, ugh, and they drop down in a pile of blood. He was like, oh, I didn't know the game was going to be like this. Do you want to keep playing it? And I was like, kind of. Like, it's pretty fun. I could just remember the look on his face when it just realized, like, oh, this is murder. I brought home murder for my 10-year-old. What else? Oh, Streets of Rage 2 comes out in 1992 on the Mega Drive. This game is one of the top 5 games I've ever played in my life. It was a side-scrolling beat-em-up. But everything about this game was amazing. In a time of where beat-em-ups were huge, this one had depth. Like, it wasn't just a button masher. You could choose your attacks. It was forward attacks, light attacks, charge attacks. Like, there were 3 different types of jumping attacks. There were grabbing attacks, throwing attacks. You could really play this how you wanted. And the characters were all different. It was amazing. The impact of each hit every hit felt like it had weight behind it. And the soundtrack, oh my God. The soundtrack was leaps and bounds ahead of its time. It was the best thing about the game. I think it was the first time I'd ever played a game and it actually stopped to appreciate the music, or would play slowly so I could hear the music, or really felt the music come through and elevate the gameplay. There was a great video on YouTube about this guy he analyzes music, and he's never heard the Streets of Rage 2 soundtrack, and it's a video of him listening to it, and it's just blowing his mind. Like, search reaction to Streets of Rage 2 music, and you'll find it. it's well worth your time just to see this guy's reaction to what's going on in these. And the music was so vastly different to all the levels. The bosses were real pricks. The boss at the end of level 4, the wrestler dude who charges you, he can get in the bin. But everything about this game was near absolute perfection, I think. I hired this out. And the other reason I loved it is because during one of our hirings of the consoles, I had a friend sleep over and we played 2-player and we failed. And then at the very last thing we did that night was complete Streets of Rage 2, and it just felt the accomplishment. Oh, I love this game. I love it. Play it if you haven't. It still holds up. It really does. Also 92, Flashback by Delphine Software, the same guys that made Another World. I think, yes, fact check me. But Flashback came out. It was a bit like Prince of Persia. It was like a screen by screen platformer, but it's realistic. So, you have to you pull yourself up to ledges, and if you want to jump over a ledge, you have to take a running jump, and it looked like realistic graphics and animations and movement, and you had a gun, and you just looked so cool moving around with your gun. I remember just spending time after I'd finished the game, just walking around, pretending I was a secret agent, rolling here, pulling my gun out there, doing all this stuff. It was amazing. It was so cool. The story was a bit weird, but anyway, I wasn't playing it for the story. I was playing it so I could roll and pull my gun out while I rolled. So when I finished my roll, I had my gun out like a secret agent. It was great. Mortal Kombat comes out in 92, and this sent people apeshit. The blood and gore in this, and the fatalities. Can you imagine, around this time, people are a bit concerned that video games might be a bit violent, bringing home murder to your children. And then there's a fighting game, and everyone's seen Street Fighter 2, and they're like, I'm not sure about a fighting game, a bit violent. And then this other game called Mortal Kombat comes out that has, very realistic graphics for its time, and there's on-screen blood. And I'm not sure about that, because they all look real, and it looks like they're really hitting each other. And at the end, you have the option to brutally murder your opponent, rip their head and spinal column out of their body, or rip their heart out of their chest, or punch their head off their shoulders, this sort of shit. Of course, parents went crazy for it. And there's one thing I realized at this time, is if parents are saying, you cannot watch this, or you cannot play this, or you cannot listen to this because it is so dangerous, guess what that makes kids want to do more? Anyway, those are video games. Top 5 songs. Top 5 songs in 1992. At number 5, Baby 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 by TLC. I didn't really know it, and it's definitely no Waterfalls. And it's no Scrubs. One of their weakest songs, if you ask me. At number 4, Save the Best for Last by Vanessa Williams. Remember Vanessa Williams? She was a bit of an actress, bit of a singer. She was the J-Lo of her time. This is a good song. It was a bit kind of bit middlery, ballady, but it was good. It was a good one. At number 3, Jump by Criss Cross. This song was huge. Jump, jump, Criss Cross will make you jump, jump. Criss Cross were a rap duo who were famous for wearing their clothes backwards. They were famous for not being able to dress themselves. I went on a school camp around this time when Jump Jump was huge, and me and some friends, for the last night of the camp, there was a talent section, and we said we'll come out and we'll sing Jump Jump, and we'll kind of we planned two moves we were going to do, and within the first 15 seconds we realized, we're out of the moves, and also I don't think either of us knows the song very well, and so everyone kind of froze, and they were just everyone was looking at us, and I suddenly realized, oh my god, there's another 2 minutes of this song to go, and I just started going crazy. I just started flapping my arms around, and just to do something, because I was freaking. I was like, we can't just stand here, and I just started flapping my arms around and dancing crazy, and just to cover. And then afterwards, one of my friends was like, I can't believe you just stole the show. Why would you do that? You just made it all about you. And I was like, are you shitting me? No one was doing anything. I panicked, and that's what I did, okay? I don't recall you doing anything at all. Anyway, that's what I think of when I think of that song. And it was the first time I made it all about me. Number 2, Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. There was a time where I was ever hosting a party, and my barometer of a good party is if people dance. And for some reason, anytime I put this song on, people would dance. So It's a good dance song. I can see why it's number 2. And at number 1 in 92, End of the Road by Boyz II Men. Oh, is there any more ultimate R&B song than Boyz II Men, End of the Road? Like, it's got the perfect recipe for the perfect R&B song. It's like incredibly emotional. It's got that talky bit in the middle where like the guy will come on and go, "Girl, I know I hurt you, girl," and like he apologizes and gets desperate, and they start building up the chorus back, and just come back to me, baby, just come back, tell me what I need to do, and then they go back to the chorus and they repeat it. Some guy holds a high note for fucking ages, and they repeat the chorus for like 17 times to finish it off. Every time you think it's the last one, like they add another one, and then they stop and they take out all the music, but they'll just clap along with the chorus. Come to the end of the road. And you think that's got to be it. And then they bring the music back and they play it another 3 times. And you're like, how long? Where is the end of this road? Anyway, those were the top 5 songs of 92. Other songs that came out in 92 that you surely must remember. Informer by Snow, which was just an anomaly. Like, this guy was a white Canadian dude who was singing like reggae, like patois rap. It was nuts, and it was amazing. It was amazing. No one could sing the chorus. No one knew what the words were. Again, you couldn't just Google. This was like, there was always conspiracy theories. What do you think the lyrics are? Well, I heard from someone that knows the guy that like produced it, that these are the lyrics, and like no one knew what the hell this guy was saying, but it was so popular. I googled it a little while ago. Like, isn't it Informer? Sees somebody. Oh fuck, I don't know. I can't remember. Something down the lane. Anyway, I'm going to Google those lyrics straight after this because it's a banger of a song. Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers comes out. To Be With You, by Mr. Big. I'm the one who wants to be with you. This was so... the music video for this is just a bunch of kind of slightly hench white guys all just sitting around with their massive hair, really feeling it. Like, this is all about feeling things. Like, maybe if the 80s was about experiencing new songs and new beats and everything, this era of the 90s was, I'm feeling it. I just want to be the next to be with you. And like, End of the Road. This was a lot of the time of like people singing with their fists clenched and pulling down, towards their chests. In contrast to that, I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred comes out in 92. Didn't he turn out to be like a ultra right wing guy? Really? The guy that dressed like a skinhead, who was a skinhead, was, I don't know. Right Said Fred's I'm Too Sexy comes out, which was just hilarious. The video for it. The first time I ever saw a mesh vest, and I thought, I am never wearing one of those. Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus comes out in 92. November Rain by Guns N' Roses is a huge hit in 92. November Rain was the longest song I'd ever heard in my life to that point, and I could not believe that it was that long. I kept thinking, there surely must be some mistake. There's 2 songs here they've stitched together, right? No song is this long. Movies are longer than this song. Don't believe me? Go and watch the music video. It's 92 minutes long. Black or White by Michael Jackson comes out. And the video for this was amazing. And the other reason I loved music around this time was the music video was still huge. Like, these days, some music videos have gone, You know what's sad? I immediately thought of Gangnam Style, of like a music video that's like gone really popular. It's 2024, and I'm referring to a song that's like about a decade old. Apologies, this is just what happens when you're old. But around this time, music videos were huge. I think I mentioned it in last week's podcast. Like, music videos were the first viral videos because they were short. Everyone would talk about them, and Black or White had this amazing technology at the end where they had all these different actors singing to camera, but they would morph between their faces. And the first time I saw it, I was like, we are living in the future. Nothing can be trusted anymore. If we can just morph people's faces together like this, like they're aliens, shapeshifters, who can we trust? What is happening? Blew me away. And Macaulay Culkin was in the video. And it was, again, one of those little videos that had like a story at the start of it, and it stops in the middle of the song to carry on the story, and then it goes back to the song, and it was nuts. It was nuts. Movies that came out in 1992. Wayne's World. I always think about my good friend Gareth / flatmate. We watched Wayne's World so many times. We'd quote it so many times. Great film. I didn't realize that this came off like a Saturday Night Live sketch of a character that they had worked in a sketch, and then they went, let's see if this can be sustained through a movie. And it did, and it was a huge hit. And this explains a lot of terrible, terrible comic movies that came out in the 90s where people went, oh, let's see if we could take other caricature sketch characters and then put them in their own feature-length film. There was one called It's Pat, and it's about no one could figure out if they were a girl or a guy. Like, it was fucking terrible. Anyway, Far and Away comes out in 92. I love this movie. Do you remember when Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman were an item and they each put on Irish accents? It was great. I love the bit where Joseph becomes a bare knuckle boxer. And I can still not really watch this bit where he gets this big fight and he loses it because he's distracted by Nicole Kidman being touched up by a guy. And like, he's got good character because he's trying to help her, but he's also like not focusing on the fight. And if she hadn't been there, if she just stayed away, who knows? He might have bit him. Anyway, I remember this. Like, land, they're giving it away. Go watch it. It's great. My Cousin Vinny comes out in 1992, which is amazing. It's such a good film. It's so underrated, My Cousin Vinny, as a comedy. And Marissa Tomei in it as his girlfriend, who won an Oscar, by the way, for this movie. She won an Oscar as well. She deserves. Like, it's a courtroom. It's about a case of two guys, mistaken identity, and My Cousin Vinny is their lawyer. And the climax of the court case in this movie is just as good as the climax in A Few Good Men. I would argue. And Marissa Tomei throughout this whole movie is fucking nailing it. And you get to see a softer side of Joe Pesci. It's great. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Unforgiven is released this year. I think this was Clint Eastwood's directorial debut. It's a damn good Western. And I think it won Best Picture. It definitely won Best Picture. He's brutal. He just blows a guy away. You should shot an unarmed man. He should have armed himself. Reservoir Dogs comes out in 92. Quentin Tarantino's first full-length film. Was it his first full-length, or was it True Romance? I think this is the first time he directed. Didn't he? I don't know. Someone's going to be going, no, this happened. But Reservoir Dogs was the first Tarantino in my mind. And I loved it. And it really just felt like a play. Like, it wasn't elaborate, huge elaborate sets. You know, it was a very contained movie. It was all about the dialogue and the relationships. It was great. It was great. And Tim Roth does a great job of, like, playing an undercover, like when he's telling a story to pretend he's a real deal criminal when he's actually an undercover agent. Like, there's so many layers here of acting. It's so good. Malcolm X comes out in 92. Sister Act in 92. The Bodyguard. Basic Instinct, which that legs crossed, uncrossing scene, that was parodied in so many comedies of the time. And it was always from that backwards shot of the legs spreading and the legs crossing over. And Sharon Stone used to be it. Like, Sharon Stone was the woman when you think about hot Hollywood actresses. She was the Marilyn Monroe of her time. But I feel bad that Sharon Stone's kind of like remembered for this. You know, when you think about Sharon Stone, do you think like classy, amazing actress? No, you think, oh, she's the one that spread her legs in Basic Instinct. It's a bit sad, isn't it? A League of Their Own comes out in 92. Like, if you want to talk about empowerment, like, you know, girl bossing it and stuff, A League of Their Own nailed it. It's got Laurie Petty, Gina Davis, Madonna's in it, Rosie O'Connell? Did I get that right? Rosie O'Connell? Anyway, it's a great movie. It's not a baseball movie. It's a underdog movie. It's great. And Tom Hanks is great in it. There's no crying in baseball. I think he also takes the longest piss recorded in cinema history in this movie. Scent of a Woman comes out in 92. Oh, this was a great movie. I've watched this movie so many times. The tango that he does in this is so good. And you compare it to the tango that Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's because it's the same piece of music. And at the start of True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, he dances the tango, and he dances one at the end of True Lies as well. But it's the same piece of music. It's Por una Cabeza by Carlos Gardel, if I'm correct. And Al Pacino just dances the crap out of this tango, and he's blind. I know he's acting blind, but it's so good. Chris O'Donnell was in it when he was still a big actor as well. Death Becomes Her comes out in 92, which is underrated. If you want to see what a black comedy looks like, watch Death Becomes Her. Bruce Willis is still flexing his comedic chops, before he really made the switch to being full kind of action hero. He's this like pathetic little alcoholic man running around in this, and Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn are these two women that slap him around. There's a bit of a love triangle, and it's great. It's ridiculous, but it's great. Three Ninjas comes out in 92. I remember watching this as a kid, and I called bullshit. This movie annoyed me because it's about three brothers who are trained by their granddad to be ninjas, and the youngest kid is about 7 or 6 or something, and at the end of the movie it's got him like knocking out full-grown men. And I remember watching this. I think it was like my parents got it for me. We rented it from Video Village, and I watched it. And when this 6-year-old knocked out a full-grown henchman, I remember standing up and going, "No way, nuh-uh." Obviously didn't say it as a kid, but I was saying bullshit. Right, top 5 movies in 92. Actually, if we just talked about it, number 5, A Few Good Men by Aaron Sorkin. Oh man, this written by Aaron Sorkin. I've watched this so many times again. Jack Nicholson has such a small amount of screen time, but as Nathan Colonel Jessup, he is so imposing, so domineering in his presence. Oh, it's so good. And I bet you he was probably paid the most in this movie, and I don't care if he was in it the least. You watch it and you go, that's why they paid him the big bucks. At number 4, Lethal Weapon 3. Number 3, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. I love in Home Alone 2, they just went, okay, we're just doing the same thing again in New York. Same thing again, okay? It's not going to change it too much. Just, he gets lost, but this time it's in New York, and it worked, and it was a huge sequel. There's been other Home Alone sequels. They're up to like Home Alone 5. 3 onwards were absolute crap. Batman Returns comes out in 92. I remember watching that. I was so excited for this movie. I think it was the first time I was excited for a movie that I knew was coming, because there was an Entertainment Weekly show, I think, on Sky Movies, which we had, and they would talk about the top 10 movies that were in the US at the time, and they'd do a box office countdown, but they would also feature films that were going to come out. And this is the first time I saw on this program that they were making Batman Returns. Remember, this is 92, so there's not like your daily feed on your socials where you go and they tell you like, oh, this studio's announced this movie, or your website you could go to where they would do this. Like, this is where I got my movie news, on this program, and I saw they're making a Batman 2? Holy shit! And they showed a couple of clips from it, and you couldn't see trailers, you couldn't Google trailers, so I saw a couple of clips and I just obsessed over them. And I think because this program repeated on Sky, I looked at the next time it was going to be on, and I made sure I watched it again just so I could watch those clips again. Just, I was blown away by it, and I was so excited. I remember talking to my parents that night and just going, I couldn't get the words out. They're making Batman 2, and in the clip I saw, he's got a new Batarang, and the Batmobile is slightly different, and he's fighting these clowns. And they were like, oh, yeah, that sounds amazing. Do you want to? And I was like, yes, we're going. I don't know when it's coming out, but we're going. Batman Returns came out. And, I mean, it's not as good as Batman 1, but holy shit, I was a kid, and anything Batman at the time was amazing. And that was number 2. And number 1, Aladdin. Aladdin in the Disney Renaissance. This is after Beauty and the Beast. And I think this is the first time that I can remember anyway that a voice actor celebrity was really being used to sell a film. Because Robin Williams obviously played the genie, and that was a major part of the marketing in this. Like, come and see Aladdin. We've got Robin Williams voicing the genie. And these days, they always tell you who's voicing everything. The Rock is going to be voicing Maui, and so-and-so is going to be voicing this person, and blah, 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 blah. At this time, I think this was the first time I can remember, at least, that they said they used this as a real draw card. Like, because before that, I couldn't name you a celebrity from anyone that voiced The Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast. I know Angela Lansbury probably would have been it, but she was more famous for the song that she sings, Tale as Old as Time. But this one, I don't know how they would have done this, because Robin Williams goes 90 miles an hour. Did they just unleash him in the recording studio and then try to animate all of it? Or surely that's the only way it could have been done, right? Surely. Anyway, Aladdin, huge blockbuster. And again, I liked it because he had brown skin and black hair, and I was like, I've got brown skin and I've got black hair. And I really liked Aladdin. It was amazing. Times Person of the Year in 92 is Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. Hey, y'all. Bill Clinton. who will always just be known for his saxophone and his getting a blowjob, is cheating on his wife. I feel sorry for Monica Lewinsky. I really do. Like, how does Bill Clinton somehow manages to get on with his life and just be, I was President Clinton. But she, everywhere she goes, she's like, oh, you're the person that did that. Ah, it's really sad. It's really sad. Anyway, Monica, wherever you are out there, strength to you. I just remember something else that happened in 92 when I was at school. When I was at school in 92, we used to have religious studies, right? You know, we had, we used to have Christian studies. There was no one coming in and going, who's heard about Islam or Judaism or Buddhism? No, there was none of that. What would happen was a local priest would come in and he'd just tell us some stories about the Bible and like what they meant. And I think one day, he came in and he had this cardboard box, and it was pretty big, about like the size that like a sewing machine would come in. And he said, he put it on a desk and he goes, in this box, I have got the most dangerous weapon known to man. If anyone would like to stick their hand in the box and touch it, you can. Now, as I'm telling you that, there are so many red flags retelling that now. A priest walks into a room and tells a room full of kids, I've got something in this box. Who wants to reach their hand in and touch it? Right? But at the time, I've clearly put that into taking the context away. At the time, we were like, what? It was the biggest mystery. Like, we were like, this is so cool. Who's going to put their hand in the box? I didn't want to put my hand in the box. I was like, no, I'm not putting my hand in that, but who knows? And the first kid that went in there, he put his hand in and he touched what it was in, and he just had this real kind of smile, just went, ugh. And maybe about 4 or 5 kids put their hand in the box. And this one girl, I remember one girl in my class, let's call her Ashley. Ashley put her hand in the box and she touched it and she was like, ugh, what is it? And then he was like, okay, now everyone who wants to touch it, he said, I'm going to show you what it is. And he lifted out the box and it was a tongue. Right? It was like a cow's tongue that he got from the butchers or something. But he was like, what I want to tell you is it's a tongue. And the reason it's the most dangerous weapon in the world known to me, it's because with our tongues, we can inflict so much damage with what we say. But he didn't quite get the message out because Ashley, upon realizing she had touched a dead animal's tongue, fucking freaked out and shrieked and started crying and lost her shit. And kind of had to be taken out of the room. And the poor priest was like, oh, I don't think I was expecting that to happen. Anyway, so, geez, it's probably the most dangerous weapon in the world for that particular girl. I just remember, retrospectively looking back, just like the balls of that priest to come in and go, yeah, this is good. This is a good idea. I don't know if he'd done this in other places. Like, I appreciate the message he was trying to do. And you know what? Quite intriguing for a room full of kids. Hey, I've got something in the box. Who's going to come, Who's going to Paul Atreides this stuff? Come on. Anyway. Oh, God. We've gone up to almost 50 minutes on this podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I really felt today's podcast especially, I had my thoughts running, which led to a lot of me quite not knowing what to say and getting lost mid-thought. It's because my thoughts run very quickly in my head and suddenly it starts going like, all right, what thought are we sending to the mouth? Like, because there's 3 here and you're all jamming each other. So 2 of you step out of the way. All right. That's what happened there. So apologies for that. Thank you for bearing with me on that. Hey, join me on the socials. I think my website should be in the description of this or the Discord. Join in the Discord. Anyone. I've been watching the numbers and people are listening to this. More people than I thought. So thank you very much. Share it, rate it, or whatever you do with these things. Do you comment? I don't know. I'm not a young man and I don't know. Just do whatever you're doing. Keep listening. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.